Cincinnati's ready for the Big 12. It was time for them.
I am fired up.
It's a blessing to be able to be in this league with y'all, putting on for UC.
Cincinnati, a basketball school.
And there he goes. Touchdown! Bearcats!
Raquama again. Another slam inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast. I'm Brandon. He's Darren. And we are excited to talk some football finally here, Darren. I know it's been a minute since we've even thought about football on the show with all the exciting news of Bearcats basketball happening. Fun first season in the Big 12. We just recapped that a couple episodes ago. Baseball is in full swing, and I want to talk about that for a moment here in just a moment. But to get our minds right, get everything that all the updates from spring ball so far happening in Nippert, from new quarterback play to the eclipse that happened this week here across the Midwest. We brought in a third-time guest. This is his third time on the show, Darren. First time I think he's been on with you, though.
Sure.
Since we've added you to the co-hosting here, that is good. So he covers all things Bearcats for the Cincinnati Enquirer. He's last on in August. We talked to him about everything happening at Camp Higher Ground. He is Scott Springer at S Springer Sports on Twitter and at Parting Scott on Instagram. Scott, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast.
Well, I was holding out till you got Darren on the show, so that's why it's been so long. I said I'm not doing it with this dude by himself. He's got to have Darren on, or we're just not going to go. So here I am. Now you can double team me, and we're all ready.
You're not the only person that thinks like that. Especially here recently, I've been in my villain era, as Darren has said, and Darren certainly has brought his followers and fans.
Darren is the face. Yeah.
I'm just a face. I'm a figurehead.
Yeah. Figurehead.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, before we jump into first Bearcat baseball, some announcements that we have and everything. It's the Go Beercats podcast, so we're drinking a beer. Scott, I don't know if you decided to have one with us here, but I have something very fancy. This is a Belgian ale, Delirium Noel, which I think it's a little Christmassy. We're past that point of time.
Yeah.
But I was given to this by a customer at the liquor store, so I figured I'd drink it here.
Well, it's free and all, so that's a tough turn down. You got to go with it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Back with my Cappy snacks from a few episodes ago, so it's been served me well. It's a nice fruit punch.
You must have liked that from Urban Artifact, so you came back to it.
Yeah, perfect. It's refreshing.
I think I've got some Christmas ones out in my garage, but they're going to stay there because honestly, I don't care too much for the Christmas ones. They're okay, but yeah. I'm let's see. My most recent one would be I told you I go to Paradise, so you've been there. So the most recent one was a somewhat inappropriate name maybe, but it's called the Redheaded Stepchild, and I was watching the Reds, so there you go. And it was good, and they won, so you stick with it. You go with the
there you go.
And then they have a Black Forest lager that I tried, and it was all right.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never been to the Black Forest, but apparently, when you go to Subway, they have the Black Forest ham. So there's got to be a bunch of pigs and beer wherever this Black Forest is. I don't know where it is, but it sounds like a fun place.
I have to find it. Maybe that's the Holy Grail or something that we just don't know about. Darren, before last thing here, the first announcement that we have in this episode, and there's two major ones, one at the beginning, one at the end. Earlier today, that the Catskeller Social Club, of course, the Go Beercats podcast is a part of that with Cincy Slangin, Captain Cincy, a.k.a. Mr. Steal Your Logo. We added someone else to the fold here for our creative team, and that is the account, the Bearcat Bunch. Eric has officially joined the Catskeller Social Club with us here, so be sure to follow him on Twitter and Instagram and he puts out a lot of good stuff. Takes a lot of deep dives for everything Bearcats related. I know he has a running list of all of the people that Cincinnati has reached out to in the transfer portal for basketball. So good stuff like that. He contributes. Looking forward to see what else he can do here for us. So welcome in to the Bearcat bunch. We certainly I'm excited to have him and see what else he can do here. He's doing great stuff already. Let's talk Bearcats. That's why we're here, right? Let's first talk baseball. Something that we don't necessarily always lead the show with, but the Bearcats swept the number 18 ECU Frogs this weekend in a big Big 12 series win for us. Scott, I saw you tweeting about it. I know Dan Skillings was there throwing out a first pitch and everything. You have any takeaways from that series this weekend?
Well, Dan needs to work on his velocity because he only chucked it up at 52 on Saturday. But his friend Tommy O'Connor belted a 3-run homer, and so that gave him the win in that game. And then yesterday, 13-2, it's a run rule. Carrington Cross knocks a 2-run dinger in the 7th. So I guess on getaway day, if another team has a travel, they do run rules, and that was the case, and that was the ball game. So, but TCU was preseason number 5 in the country. They were a College World Series team. They still are a 20-win team. They're like 20-11 now. They came in 20-8. I believe UC's at 19-13. Bearcats, I think, a game and a half out of first, 7-5 in the league, and TCU is only 5-10 now in the league. So again, it's a very, like we keep saying, and no matter the sport, it's a very tough league, and I think people need to take that into account whenever they're getting hot and bothered and upset football-wise, basketball-wise. It's like this league is way better than what you're in, and the competition is much better. No offense to the AAC, but just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, expect preseason number 5. They've not had a good run of form lately, but even still, to step to a team that has that much established talent, when you're dealing with turnover, new coaching tenure, new conference overall, to sweep them and run rule them, for that is great.
Oh, they whipped him. I mean, it wasn't just a beating; it was a flogging of the Frogs. It was 13-2. Good night. What a way to And then the kid Nathan Taylor, a year ago he's pitching high school ball at West Claremont, and he'll get drafted probably 6'4", 220, the prototype of what they look for. But he gives you 7 innings and strikes out 9. And, certainly with a lot of run support, it made things easy. But they got some hitters. I like Jordan Bishel and Josh Cross belted one out yesterday too. So it seems they've got some chemistry going, and sometimes that'll win you some games.
Yeah. No, Nate Taylor is an absolute unit. I mean, the size of that kid is astounding. Good strength naturally. I think he just needed to get a few college games under his belt and really learn the game at this level. And seems like he's off to the races at this point.
Yeah.
We got Buzzsaw, our potential Buzzsaw after Xavier, Oklahoma State, who's also really good. We'll see how they do. And then really just the conference schedule outside of Houston after that is just going to be tough sledding.
Yeah, I think UCF's coming up, and I believe they're
number 25 now.
Yeah, they just got into the rankings, and someone else did too. I happen to see, but yeah, you have 2 teams that are up there. A bunch of them were. Obviously, if you go to the warmer climates, that they're playing baseball year round. I mean, way back when, I'm from here, but I lived 5 years in Florida. I was amazed seeing, little league knothole type things starting in January. But that's the upside. It's nice weather. They can play. They're not taking ground balls on the gym floor. They're out there on the field. So it's a big difference.
Xavier tomorrow up in Mason, or on Tuesday, depending on when you're listening to this.
Usually free food there too. So if you're really hungry, it's a good place to stop by.
That is for sure. I just learned that today. One of my coworkers was telling me all about that place. He said it's definitely worth a visit. So we will see if the Bearcats can't keep their hot streak on the baseball diamond before taking on the rest of the slate that is the Big 12. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, see if they can't carry that momentum into a future series. What we want to talk about, though, Scott, while we're here, the meat and potatoes, if you will, we want to talk spring football. I want to sort of talk about anything that's stood out to you so far. I know we had the eclipse this week at Nippert Stadium. Maybe start off. Maybe tell us what that was like.
Oh, that was fun. I never really had seen one, and I really had kind of written it off. I'm not going to bother looking. I don't have the funky 3D glasses. I'll just go and take some video of what it looks like. I really underestimated it. And then UC, to their credit, they came down. A lot of the staff members came down, and they had several pairs of the glasses. And so I was given a pair. I took a look up, and it was like, wow, this is something. This is really, I never looked at one way back when I was a kid, and Lord knows that's been forever ago. There was an eclipse like that, and all I remember was I had to walk to school. It was about half mile back and forth, but I was told, Mom said, don't look up at the sun, and so walked to school with my head down, not looking up, because the only way you could watch it was with this view box funky thing that I'm far from an engineer. I'm an idiot, so I didn't make one, and so I was not allowed to look up. But this one came around, and I'm glad I had the glasses, and I'm glad I looked up. And I'll tell you what, I actually brought like a jacket to the practice because I heard it was going to dip about 15 degrees, and it certainly did. I don't know if I posted I believe on my Twitter, my X, there's pictures of me looking goofy with the glasses, and then the picture of what it looked like there at the stadium, or some video at the stadium. It suddenly went from beautiful blue sky, sunshine, 70s hot, to night game, nip at night. It went nip at night for 2, 3, 4 minutes, something like that. And then back to hot again. So just never experienced anything like that. It was cool. And then as the guys were coming out to practice, they had glasses for them. And each guy, before they put their helmet on, they were all taking a look up really quick. But, they were going through drills, and practice never stopped. It just got dark all of a sudden. And and it looked and felt like, a night game briefly, and then back to normal. So I think everyone enjoyed it. But other than the eclipse, I'm actually working on a story on the tight end. So I'll tell you what I did today. I talked to Joey Belgian, who was around last year but got hurt. He was a Western Kentucky transfer, but he was going to be one of their dudes at tight end. And then Peyton Singletary, who was one of them last year. I previously talked to Joe Royer. I also talked to Coach Josh Stepp, the tight ends coach. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. You lose Shimon Mateer, who was quite a specimen, but I think Royer, if you get Royer to not get hurt, he's got tremendous potential. I saw him at Elder, 30 pounds ago, and he caught 70 or so balls in the GCL South, which that doesn't happen a whole ton. And he's put 30 pounds on. So he's about 6'5", 255, made some plays today. High football IQ, can do a lot with the run game, has made big catches. And then today, Peyton Singletary made a pretty decent catch. And then he just pancaked the guy after he had the ball, flattened him. And they love that, the yards after catch and damage and stuff you can do. And Belgian is he's looked good, and he was going to be a player last year, and he had to sit out, and he really missed his football, and so he's ready to go. It looks like he hasn't missed a step. And who else? There's McAlmont, there's Falk, there's the new guy Gavin Grover, 6'6". He wears number 87, so he's like a Travis Kelce size, and then you see the 87, which is his pro number. Of course, Travis wore 18 here, but you see that body out there, and he's going to be good. And then I've got my cheat sheet roster here because I don't want to mess the kid's name up. Devin Zahersky, another big guy, 6'5", 245. And these are incoming dudes. So maybe they redshirt, maybe you get more out of them yet. But they do catch your eye. And, the freshmen coming in don't look like the freshmen used to. I can tell you that much. And there seems to be a lot of more cohesiveness and the team chemistry thing. And I think part of the, when guys went into the portal, a good bit of those were kind of instructed, just move along, move on to the next step. Most of them actually. So they're trying to change, the locker room and all that, and hopefully that works out, and hopefully that leads to wins. But yeah, again, you're in the Big 12 though, so you're flipping your roster every year like everybody else is.
Yeah, no, I mean those. You could tell. I was actually checking my I have like the in file and out file about who's coming in, who's going out. With the portal. And you can just tell with some of those guys I checked on that I had question marks next to that hadn't had a spot. A lot of them were looking at FCS. Before they picked up. So,
well, that's you just never know. It's like it might not be better at the other place. Across the street might look better, but once you get there, it might be kind of messy in there, or it's just. Sometimes it's better to wait your turn and just get better. That's the old-fashioned way. But, yeah, I mean, UCF certainly picked up several Bearcats there, so that game will be interesting. And then Matea's out at Colorado, so you'll see him then. And, we'll see who's doing what.
Scott, I think a lot of people will be very anxious to hear about the quarterback situation this year. Of course, we have Emory Jones moving along after a one and done here, just because of eligibility running out, I guess. But there's some shuffling, or there was some shuffling in the quarterback room, at least for people being reassigned positions. And then you bring in Sorsby from Indiana. Tell us about him so far. Is there anything that stands out, good or bad, either way right now?
I mean, he's not been perfect, but I mean, you figure he's 7 Big Ten starts, and he ran pretty well, threw pretty well. I think he threw 3 touchdowns against Penn State, and he might have had 5 in another game. So he's got some pretty key experience. He's a big dude. He's not afraid to knock you over when he runs the ball. I think he would prefer to pass it, but he's a big fellow when he runs. And let's face facts. I mean, this guy was brought in through the portal. Money talks. This guy's going to be your starter, barring the unforeseen or anything major happening. Now, Drogosh, who looked really good last spring, you mentioned guy getting moved. He gets moved to linebacker, and he's a big fella too, but he's kind of taken to the linebacker position. I was there the day that he made the interception, and everyone on both sides was kind of happy about that. He went up, tipped it like a basketball player, caught it, brought it down. So the length and the height helped out. He's made some tackles. He's a tough guy. He's very fast, and I heard great things about him in the weight room in the off season. So. Everybody is a beast, but that's what they said, that he was killing in the weight room. So then you have, Sorsby, you have Lichtenberg still doing. I think Brady's reliable and they're comfortable with him, but I wouldn't be shocked to see the freshman Samaj Jones come and maybe move into that number 2 spot, because just watching his arm, I mean, he gets rid of it pretty good. He runs it very well, did very well in high school. And he's probably a guy that, if he were 6'3", he's probably got some big time offers, and you might benefit that he was only 6 foot. Now let's not write off anyone that's 6 foot. Dude named Drew Brees did pretty good in the pros. Doug Flutie, shoot, I'm looking at my Flutie flakes from years ago over there. I met the guy. He might be 5'7", 5'8". And Zach Colaros, former Bearcat, still playing in the CFL, about 6 feet tall. You can play, Now, is it NFL? Maybe that's a different story, but you certainly can play at 6 foot, and he's he's got the skills, and he seems pretty mature. And I think it helps really to have him in as an early enrollee, learning the system already. So I'm not in charge of the depth chart, but he could very easily see some playing time somehow.
Yeah, no, I mean, even without the preferred specifications on his size, he was sitting at what, like the 40th, 39th best quarterback coming in that class.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's the skill I feel like speaks for itself. Obviously, college is a different game, but that's a lot of upside still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a shorter guy, but he looks, he doesn't look frail or thin, and looks a decent body shape and all, and fast. And his brother's not here yet. His brother's coming also, and he's a receiver. I think he stayed back in high school to finish his high school track season, but he can run, and that's the other thing. This team is faster overall. I was told last year they had 20 or more guys, somewhere around 20 that hit 20 miles per hour on the way they measure these guys. It's the catapult system, and Coach Satterfield said recently that there's over 40 guys that are over 20 miles an hour now. So you got some faster running backs, and no chance. Williams from Grambling is faster. Evan Pryor from Ohio State's faster. You got burners on this freshman Cale Woodburn is he big time speed, and Tyron Smith that came from UTEP fast. Tony Johnson from FAU fast. So overall, a lot of people fast, and Corey Kinder's faster. He's still the guy. It's just you now have some options to maybe give him a little rest and all that. So and speed's the deal. It's that's a big difference maker in the big leagues. It's what's better than the AAC. It's like, well, these SEC, Big Ten schools, Big 12. There's just faster dudes, bigger, faster, stronger.
You rattled off a lot of the wide receivers there, and then even at the beginning when you're telling us about spring practices so far. And if I remember correctly, last year at the spring game, they didn't even have enough wide receivers on the roster to actually compete or take them off the field. I think some guys had to play on both teams. They were pretty much all-time offense.
Yeah, I think that was an injury situation. They had guys dinged up, and some of them were the new guys. I thought the guys that they had coming in at wide receiver, and eventually they looked all right in the fall. But this crop, it seems like they have better resumes. Now you do have the key returner from last year, or returner rather, Xavier Henderson, and he was the top receiver. He's still around. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he hasn't forgotten how to catch. So you just I think the room itself is better, and I think that the tight end room is probably a little bit underestimated, and I think you're deeper at running back, and you have your entire starting offensive line back, plus some guys that are pushing other guys. So as long as you can keep everybody healthy, things look better. But you got to keep in mind the other teams, they're going to try to get better too. They don't quit recruiting while UC's trying to get better. So they need to get over the hump. Last year, a handful of things. Kind of like basketball season, you can pick out probably 5-6 games that could have gone the other way, and had they gone the other way, people are just happy, ecstatic. Basketball maybe could have won 27. Football probably could have got 6 or 7 and gotten to a bowl game, and you'd be feeling a lot better.
Yeah, I was I think on a past show I was telling Brennan that the seasons kind of mirrored each other in that regard. Mm-hmm. A lot of 50-50, and we're dealing with a different outcome. Before we get past the wide receivers there, I know the hometown favorite, Prater. He's second season down in that position. It's been murmurs that he's going to have a bigger role this year. I'm not sure about that. Any insight on that?
Well, he's a little nicked up right now, so. Okay. He's not going to be back in practice probably till after the spring, and he's at practice and a participant and taking in, and and stretching, running, walking, all that type thing. But I think it's going to be summer, so it's probably a little disappointing because it might have helped him to be in there with these guys right now. And there's a lot of things you can do with Evan since he was a former quarterback. He really is a good runner. I mean, good strides. Like everyone said, Desmond. You never thought Desmond was that fast, but he had the long strides, and that kind of offset it. And I think Evan actually might be more elusive than Des was running, and of similar speed. It's just unfortunately, when he was a quarterback, a good bit of the time he was kind of running for his life, and you can go back and say, well, that might have been with the line there. If you judge that stupid Fenway Bowl, I mean, you had guys that didn't have any time at all. You had guys that were walk-ons that were playing. That was not a representative show of UC football whatsoever. They played the game, but I don't know. If I were a fan forking out money for a 4-star Marriott and flying to Boston, and that's what I saw, I think I would hope maybe that I had a good dinner and some drinks in there before I went to watch that, because it was not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only upside of that, if you're being generous, is some guys got to live out their dream and actually play a full game, as walk-ons.
Right. The kid Wyatt Fisher, cut a touchdown from Western Brown, so that's awesome. He's in the book. He's cut a touchdown in Fenway Park. There's a rarity too.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned the offensive line, running for your life. Last year, just a lack of experience as a unit. Some guys who were backing some guys up who either graduated or transferred schools, and then essentially had to bring in a linchpin from Louisville to really help communicate, the offense that he wanted to run. They're all coming back this year. More maturity, I would assume, and knowledge.
Well, Kander is probably an NFL draft pick. He was highly rated among Power 5 guards, I think like number 3, number 5, somewhere in that range. So he's in good shape. Gavin Gerhardt has been the center for some time. And then, John Williams is back, and trying to here, find the roster, Scott, and then we'll tell you who's Tinsley. Tinsley and D'Artagnan Tinsley. And then DeAndre Buford and Phil Wilder. I interviewed him not too long ago, about a week ago, and he was a transfer from Southeast Missouri State. I think he's pushing them. And then Harder's at one that they really like and has had a good spring camp so far. Judea Millen. I don't know him that well, but just repeating the name I heard. So you could see some movement there, but the guys that we're starting are back, so you don't always get everybody back. So that's a plus. And Evan Tengesdal, they're high on him. He's a kid out of Wayne. So how soon they get on, I don't know. I mean, the upside is you have some veterans there ready to go, and then maybe these young guys push them, and you see some movement there. But a lot of times you're moving linemen in and out, on downs too. So we'll see how that goes. But in theory, again, until we see somebody in another uniform, we really don't know what's going on. But right now, I think the starting group is good. And I was watching them today. They're even encouraging the other guys when they did a couple goal line things, and the first group wasn't in, but they were yelling and jumping up and down, almost like coaches to the other ones. So that part of it I like, and you see some leadership there. So hopefully it works out. But yeah, Kander is a good guy. He played with Joe Royer at Elder. That they came out the same year. It's just he went to Louisville initially, and Royer went to Ohio State.
Scott, let's flip the side of the ball here. The defensive line, I'm going to assume that is still good, as we have some a couple key pieces back on that end. While we did lose some key pieces as well. I know was it Briggs that was participating in Pro Day and throwing up some really impressive numbers. Just a unit of a man doing unit of a man things out there for NFL Pro Day. But talk to me.
The Silverback, I think that's on his Twitter handle. He's the Silverback.
Yes.
But the thing is, everyone thinks he's so old because he's got 3 kids, and he's 22, 23. He's just an amazing dude.
Yeah, he's still a very young man. Talk to me though, Scott, about the secondary, because it seemed like the secondary was really bad last year, and it didn't take long for other Big 12 teams to figure that out. While they necessarily couldn't run on us because of that D line and linebackers, really, that last Kansas game comes to mind. When it was their backup quarterback, wasn't it, that really sliced and diced this as long as as well as other teams along the way. Did we get any help there in the secondary to sort of stop the aerial attacks in the Big 12?
Kai Stokes from Ohio State, Josh Menkins from Louisville, and these are guys that, in addition to being hopefully better, are bigger. Menkins, I think, is 6'2", and Stokes is 6'1". Monty Arnold is another. There's some shorter ones, but Derek Canteen, transfer from Virginia Tech, that's another one. Logan Wilson is a smaller one, but again, they sound better and they have pretty good resumes and all, and everyone loves Kerry Combs. So if he can get it all together, I know they just on the hoof, just physically, they look more intimidating than last year's guys were kind of small and heavily penalized, I might add too. So, we'll see how many penalties UCF has this year, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the tough thing, or at least UC's been put in a tough situation when it comes to the secondary. You had a lot of young guys starting last year, plus some at a certain point guys who were just kind of padding their stats and being out there to be out there because they had to be out there. You in the era of NIL, you're losing experience. You're losing guys who the year before who would have been your next people up. It seems like you're kind of put in a desperate situation where the guys you bring in this year have to contribute right away. The people who did play, they have to, have proved that they've learned something and gotten better. Jordan Young, I heard is improving.
Oh yeah, forgot about him. Yeah, he's one that Kerry Combs said he had an outstanding spring, and then we did get to talk to him recently. So yeah, he's improved a lot. And I thought he improved as it went. It's just tough situation. But yeah, you've got guy. He's been in the SEC and here now for a year, and hopefully it all works out. And then he seems to get along with all these newer guys coming in too. And they've all been in nice places. And Menkins was a Louisville guy, so would at least have some concept of what they're trying to do, even though, Veit is from Coach Veit, the new defensive coordinator. He's from Iowa State. But, there's a fair amount of Louisville coaches on there, so they're very familiar with Menkins, and he brings great size. And then I think this 3-3-5, I think by the time the season starts, it should be effective. They've still got they don't have it perfected right now. But all I know is out of all the defenses last year, and even though it was a rough season, Satterfield's offenses were 200 yards rushing, 200 yards passing, just about on average. I mean, the rushing average was actually 217, but the only team that stopped them was Iowa State, and they held them to, I think it was about 15 rushing and 99 yards passing. And so you got to hope some of that system rubs off here, and why not? And then Satterfield has said, you got to look out of the box sometimes. You can't just say, well, by God, we're going to run what I have run forever and a day. Well, if it's not working, it's not working. So I commend him for making the change, and we'll see if it works out. It's interesting. I mean, and if you look at all the teams that want to chuck it around and spread offenses, it seems like it's designed to stop that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Working our way, I guess, back down the field towards the trenches. Tell us a little bit about the linebacking core, and then we'll double back to the defensive line as well.
Well, they have Dorian Jones is back. They have a young kid out of high school they raved about named Simeon Coleman, but he might be a ways away. But he's somebody that they pointed out like right away that's making an impact, and they like the fact that these guys came in and early enrolled, and it just helps their maturity because they're already a step ahead of these kids who are going to be coming in over the summer. Jared Bartlett is a dude that came from West Virginia, played against the Bearcats last year. Tough looking dude. I think he's going to help quite a bit, and I'm looking at. I'm actually looking at it to tell you I'm not completely cheating, but this is a newspaper article that I wrote in January with all the transfers. So I have to refresh my memory sometimes. But Micah Coleman is a defensive end. Now I'm getting away from the linebackers a bit, but he's a nice edge rusher that's going to help things there on the D line, along with Corleone. So it's we just have to right now. I can tell you the defense is ahead of the offense, but now why is that? Well, they know the plays. That kind of helps. But yeah, I'm encouraged by it. Last year you kind of thought the defense was going to be okay, and let's be honest, they didn't. The word from Louisville's that they led everybody in sacks last year with 50. Or the year before coming in, and the Bearcats, I think, only had 18, something like that. So it wasn't as effective as you would have liked, but I think a good bit of that too was, the weakness in the secondary there. So I think all around everything's been shored up, and I think you're lucky to have Dante Corleone around another year, even though he would still even have another year of eligibility if you wanted to. But he's a very mature dude and a team leader and all that. So. And then his teammate from Coleraine, Eric Phillips, he's back. Took another year, so more experience. You get a combination of guys that, even though the record wasn't what you wanted, they have that year under their belt, and new guys that have come in and have won before and are hungry to win again. And then some pretty talented guys pushing them, because I think overall the recruits just get better and better.
For sure. So, what about special teams? Other than, we had a couple mishaps that I'm having flashbacks of right now as I say special teams out loud. The blocked field goal is really what haunts my dreams against Miami. But there's some muffed or botched punt returns as well. What's the punting situation, field goal kicking situation? What special teams?
Well,
what are they
Fletcher's back. The Mason Fletcher return, so he's pretty good. And then Carter Brown at kicker is back. When something's blocked, it's not necessarily on the kicker. It's hard to say. It's a lot of things. But that Miami game, that was he was in a bad situation. Yeah, if he makes it, then UC wins, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, I just think they totally overlooked Miami this year, to be honest with you. I think they weren't familiar with the rivalry, didn't appreciate it, and lost, because they did come back the following week. You're playing Oklahoma the following week and play a decent game, a winnable game. They might have put too much stock into let's prepare for the Sooners and why these little Red Hawks will come in and we'll take care of them, and that wasn't the case. Miami still recruits good players, a lot of local players. They wanted it more, and they got it. It was just one of those feelings. If you watch it, as you said, you're watching the game and you never had a good feeling about it, and you kept thinking, "Oh my, something's going to happen that's just going to go south here, and they're going to lose."
Yeah, I mean, not to dwell too much on it, but the to start the game, the one thing you knew that shouldn't have happened or didn't need to happen happened. They were going to test you deep, and you let it go.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That kid, I forget his name now, and I think he already went into the portal and is gone. But all they talked about all week was we can't let I can't remember the name, but he was a burner.
Yeah.
And then in the first play, by God, there he goes. It's like, well, did anyone pay attention during the classroom study part? You can't necessarily fault the coaches, and as I understood it, it was a blown coverage. Somebody messed up, but yeah, that was discouraging.
Yeah, we focusing a little bit back on the special teams. We also lost Case and Pfeiffer to.
Yeah, you have a new long snapper.
Yeah, how's that operation been looking with them? Are they gelling pretty well?
It seems so far, yeah. I haven't noticed any bad snaps. And ideally, if you don't know the long snapper's name, he's probably doing a great job. Yeah. Because if you know his name, it's kind of like the bad referees in basketball. You only know the names of the bad ones, because they blow calls, or they're Showtime, TV Teddy or whatever.
Yeah,
but the ones you don't like are the ones that you remember them messing a call and maybe it wasn't even a bad call, but it goes against your team, and so in your mind it's a bad call. So yeah, if you don't know the referees, they're probably doing all right, and if you don't know the long snapper, he's probably doing all right. That ideally that's the deal. But yeah, he was at Indiana State. I don't know that matters at all. I think as long as you can zip it through your legs fast enough and get it to the guy, and you get the hold down, and then you're in good shape. But yeah, it seems okay so far.
Yeah. Are there any coaches, that are new to the team this year that have really stood out or impressed you?
I'm trying to think new ones. Well, I think Coach Veit, he's because he's installing this new defense, and he's not your typical, you think of a defensive coordinator, a big surly guy with extra tight coach's shorts and things like that. And he's just a regular guy, but he knows football. He's been doing it. He's very calm, explains his theory out and why they do what they do. And so, coaching has changed dramatically, really. You go back to particularly when you guys were young, for sure when I was young, but it's, coaches used to yell quite a bit, and they didn't really care. It didn't matter if they liked you. They were there to coach you, and you had to win them over. And now I think there's more player-friendly guys. I mean, yeah, they still get on players, but the negative reinforcement you don't see as much. Like Kerry Combs will yell as much as anyone, but it's tough to find anyone saying anything negative about him, off the field or when they're around. It's sometimes you get a little tough love, but then you come up and pat the guy on the head, or give him a hug or whatever you need to do. So anyway, yeah, Coach Veit seems to be more of that type.
Scott, we certainly appreciate your time. We want to be respectful of it here. I think we really just have one question left. It should be easy enough. We'll stick to football here. Certainly love the information that you gave us. But if you could give fans that are going to the spring game this Saturday at Nippert, if you could give them one thing to look out for or to watch for during the practice or the scrimmage or however they do it this year, what's the one thing you're going to tell fans to watch for on this football team in the spring game?
Well, that's a good question. I would say just look at the overall team speed. You're not going to see the team beat each other up, so you're not going to see bone jarring tackling and things like that. You will later, but right now, I think they just look at the caliber of athletes that they have out there. You want to check out the new quarterbacks and see what they do. And they both can run, they both can throw. Well, and I'm talking about Samaj and Sorsby, and then Lichtenberg is good too. I don't want to discount him at all because he came in spots and played very well. Look for Drogosh on defense, see how he does there. And other than that, just, I think it's kind of crappy weather the rest of this week, but Saturday looks pretty good. So the sun's out. It's free. They'll probably sell you some Cincy Lights if you want one. Now you guys are drinking the highfalutin stuff, but yeah.
Oh, we'll have some Cincy Lights if they're available. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's a great deal. That's always the funny thing. My wife, who goes to the games, she always laughs when she loves seeing the opposition come in and like Iowa State folks or somebody, and just seeing them putting away the Cincy Lights like they're water, because that's NIL money. And just drink away, Cyclones, drink away.
Love it.
Now she's a UC grad. I'm telling you from that perspective. Although I'm a UC grad too, I'm trying to keep my objectivity here.
There you go. Yeah, no worries here.
Bottom line, my job is easier when they win. So I like winning.
Again, on the social medias, Scott, it's at Springer Sports on Twitter and at Parting Scott on Instagram. Both are
Springer Sports.
Yes, both are must follows for Bearcats fans. We certainly appreciate your time, and we will not. Let's try not to wait until Camp Higher Ground to have you back on here. We'll have you back on here sooner than that.
Man, I might hold out till you get like a third guy.
Hey, who knows? Who knows?
I thought Darren was pretty impressive tonight, though, don't you think?
That's why we keep him around. People won't let him leave. He's not here by choice. The people will not let him leave. So he's sticking around with us.
That's the deal. Enjoy those beverages.
Definitely. Thank you, Scott.
What a guy.
Great guy.
I'm not just saying that because I got compliments,
Knows his stuff for sure. Darren, I thought we were going to be joined by the Bearcat Bunch. Unfortunately, we will not be able to get a visit from him tonight. But along the same lines as Scott was talking about there, real quick before we wrap this up with our big announcement, our second announcement of the show, like I alluded to, if you're still with us from the beginning, you yourself, we both plan on being at the spring game this Saturday. Scott told us to watch the speed, the athleticism of this team this year. In addition to that, is there stuff that you're going to be looking out for at the spring game? What do you
we didn't get too much into it. The running back room. Obviously know who our starter is, but we want to see how these other guys come in and play. You lose Ethan Wright, to the portal. You lose Miles Montgomery to Disney Tech. And then you lose some freshmen as well. Steve Bird, I want to say he was actually a sophomore. Lost Stephen Bird to Youngstown State. Sean Thomas, I want to say he ended up at Notre Dame College, D3 of all places. But I never saw anything official on where he ended up. That's just kind of the place I saw you had a potential offer. But you want to see how Evan Pryor does. You want to see how Chance Williams does, and who really comes out to be, I won't say number 2 bat, but who is going to be, establish that changes pace, running back. Like I said, you don't get out your starter. So who's going to be the complements of that? Or at least like the complement of that. And see how the stable is.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's all good stuff. I definitely want to see what the quarterback play is like. I thought the last year's spring game was very telling. I thought it was very evident that Ben Bryant was not going to be the starter.
Yeah,
and Emory Jones was going to come in and take that role right away. I thought. Just the reps that the other quarterbacks got, I thought was telling sort of for the depth chart as well. So I definitely want to see what Sorsby has to offer, and I definitely want to see if that speed and athleticism, like Scott was talking about, I want to see if that's evident during or in the secondary. I want to see if that's improved. I think if we get better quarterback play and a solid secondary, I think some of those coin flip games that we lost last year, they go the other way for us this year. So that's definitely going to be like my two top things, other than seeing where they're selling Cincy lights at, of course. So,
well, I mean, I think last year you could, despite how the quarterback play went with Emory Jones, going in the spring, coming out of the spring, you could sort of see what Scott wanted to do with his offense with him. We talked about him at length. Was it the confidence issue? Was it, he just lost his touch, whatever. You could see the vision with that, at least, despite the productivity at times. Younger body, bigger body in Swordsby. I won't say bigger, but, good size, strength. As Scott said, he, will run it first or throw it first, and doesn't have to take off. So that sounds like a little bit more confidence in his arm at that point.
I want to see. So when I read like Sorsby's just description, 6'3", like 230. Some people clocked him like 235. Like that reminds me of KJ Jefferson, right? In Arkansas. Like that dude is a linebacker that can throw the football. Yeah. The way I've heard Sorsby described so far, that's like that's what the triggers my mind. There is, are we getting KJ Jefferson? Well, if we are, that's great. Good dude. I think is a solid football player. I think he's at UCF this year, right?
Almost. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to deal with him then. But
yeah, I'm almost positive that he is. But who knows? Because football recruiting and the portal is wild. But I'm pretty sure he is. But that's who we'll see if he's a unit with a cannon for an arm as well. Where are we going to sit? The Nippert's pretty open for the spring game. What's your favorite vantage point there when Nippert's that open?
I like the 50-yard line if I can. Just right under the shade if it's hot. If it's too hot,
underneath the thing.
Because it was pretty toasty last year, surprisingly.
Yeah, I remember
it warmed up really quick. I was sitting with Stewart and Chelsea and Doge, and it got pretty toasty during the game.
Yeah. I always admire the people that sit in their season tickets
to test it out.
Our seats. I don't care if it's Nippert, the presidents. I don't care if it's a spring game or what. This is where I'm sitting. But yeah, I like to move around, see the different vantage point. There's talks of a tailgate. I don't know if that is set in stone yet, but I know that there are some people working on that. I know the Republic of Cincinnati had their trailer out there last year. So we'll see what happens with that. I know we were discussing that in the Discord, so that's exciting. Give people a group or a spot to group up and see some familiar faces they might not have seen for a while at the tailgate. So that's always good stuff.
That's our spring game too. In that case, we practice drinking and high fiving.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't know if we can do a beer for every spring practice, but we can try.
I mean, we gotta keep some wits about us.
That's true. We got to remember this so we can talk about it next week.
Yeah,
because our next episode we'll be talking about the spring game, what happened, and some bold predictions as that beer kicks in that we'll have after the game. So good stuff.
Are there any other new faces that you're excited for to check out?
I definitely want to see the Royer kid at tight end. Scott talked about him. I of course, as a Bearcats fan, I'm a fan of good tight ends. So I want to see what he brings to the table. If that's going to be not a major, but maybe like an important part of the offense. I definitely, and I've heard some other chatter about him as well. So I want to see what that's about. And any of the wide receivers. I know we brought that guy who's from FAU. Sounds like he physically could be pretty impressive. So I want to see what he brings to the table for sure.
Yeah, Tony Johnson. Yeah, real speedster. I mean, only 5'11", 180. So you already know what kind of profile that is. I mean, he was right about getting faster. When you just can't stack up physically. I mean, obviously you don't want to get bigger, but I mean, speed, can at least help close the gap on some things. Like I said, I want to see some of the running backs Sorsby, we talked about him a bunch, but I want to see that quarterback play. I'm excited to see the Samaj Jones too. I mean, the fact that he could work his way into the second, string. Maybe those reps, in case something happens, God forbid, he can step in and play as a true freshman. Hopefully not.
Along those same lines, last year at the spring game, the guys further down the depth chart, I think Lichtenberg maybe even, but I know Drogosh for sure, they were full contact.
Yeah.
So, will the guys further down the depth chart, will that be something that we'll see again this year, just to sort of give them that real college football feel? The new younger guys that haven't taken a hit in the Big 12 yet. I kind of like that strategy from the staff there. So I want to see if that's going to be something that we continue to see year after year.
It depends on how banged up they are.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's sure.
We talked about who was exiting. Here's the full list real quick, just so people know. Shaman Monteiro, we mentioned, tight end, Colorado. Cameron Jones, guard. He didn't start. He's going to Jacksonville State. Sammy Anderson, Jr. left to Charlotte. I think he was under concussion protocol, wasn't cleared to play for the season. I think at a certain point.
He tweeted about that.
Yeah, and he want to sell himself free, so he's out. It kind of sucks to lose a legacy, but I get it. People want to play ball. Justin Watley found a home at Arizona State. I don't think we have them on the schedule this year, but still stays in the Big 12. Luke Dalton, guard, going to Ball State. James Cameron, Murray State, linebacker. Like I said, Kason Pfeiffer, long snapper, Wisconsin. I mean, it kind of sucks the second that you saw the article written about him, about how good of a long snapper he secretly was. It kind of sucks to lose a piece like that. Even when they're kind of invisible on game days, but that's by design. Justin Harris, other quarterback, left to Texas State. So, like I said, he told some of these guys they kind of hit the bricks. Maybe a little bit nicer than that. But he's, you still lose some experience there. The Disney Tech trio, Miles Montgomery, Byron Threats, and Sean Pace, all going down south to Cincinnati's retirement home. Rumored to be, unfortunately, issues in the locker room. Still wish them the best, obviously, and they can straighten it out, but not against us. Donovan Ollie, head to Colorado State. Oliver Briggs, safety to Buffalo. Jamal Williams is playing linebacker at Troy this year. All names team, Mayo Glenn, is at UMass now. Jordan Udo, who we got from BYU last year, is also headed to Ball State. Ty Perkins, freshman wide receiver last year. Marshall, from what I understand, CJ Doggett Jr. is head of Ohio University. Stephen Bird and Ethan Wright are both going to YSU. So you got a Cincinnati combination there. And then, like I said, Sean Thomas from running back, I think Notre Dame College, which is really a few levels that drop down, honestly, if that's the case. But who knows? And then I really couldn't track down where Chris Scott, Isaiah Cox, Deion Hunter, and Rory Bell ended up. But they are gone in the portal.
Chris Scott, that's interesting. I figured that would have been an easier run.
And maybe it's hidden somewhere. His name is very common. He shares it with a lot of people, so maybe that is just buried and I couldn't find it. But we got a lot of excited guys coming in. We talked about Sorsby, Minkins today. I mentioned Chance Williams and prior. We got Armani Arnold from the Vandals coming in cornerback. Tony Johnson. You mentioned speedster FAU wide receiver coming in. Keith Stokes, Ohio State. Michael Coleman has been getting a shout out, as I mentioned, edge rusher. So Jared Canteen. We talked about Joy Royer. Tyron Smith. Small frame speedster as well. UTEP. He mentioned he's got a lot of speed. I wonder if he's going to be, if he doesn't need returning. I mean, if the speed lives up to the hype, maybe I'd be excited to see that. If he can catch if he's good at catching punts and return, kickoff returns. So, we got Logan Wilson also was mentioned really well, safety. Hoping those guys, and we also get one of Fickle's and Darian Varner from D-line from Wisconsin. I'm sorry for anybody else I didn't mention, but I'm hoping some of those secondary guys can really work out and be an instant impact and hold their own. And we're just not getting destroyed on the back end of the field.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot to look into on Saturday. I'm excited. I'm excited for some football. Excited to get back out at Nippert.
Excited for announcements.
Last announcement. Last thing here. Yeah, let's do it. So we've sort of been hinting at this for maybe a month or so. But the Catskeller Social Club was approached by some other podcasts a couple months ago, and they were working. They have this vision, very impressive vision that all of you will get to see and hopefully be introduced to this week. Hopefully, maybe right after you listen to this, because we'll throw some information in the show notes and everything. But we, as in the Catskeller Social Club, the two of us here, GoBeercats, Cincy Slangin, Captain Cincy, of course, and the new guy, the Bearcat Bunch. We are pleased to announce that the Catskeller Social Club has joined a new community called the College Huddle. This is cutting edge, brand new stuff here. The College Huddles quickly become the largest independent college sports community on the internet and beyond here soon enough. So we are the University of Cincinnati's, the Bearcats. We are the lone representative in this network, if you will. So we're excited for this opportunity, not only for us, but as Bearcats fans and listeners of this podcast and of Cincy Slangin, the whole Catskeller Social Club crew. We're excited because this is hopefully going to give us a wider reach. We'll have more resources at our disposal. A nationwide network that we will soon jump into in the off season here as we continue the Big 12 road trip that we started last summer. We got 4 more schools to talk about this year. It can be found on all social media platforms. And I think once this thing is up and rolling, the idea is it'll rival some of the sports networks that you turn to for news already, like Bleacher Report or Stadium. Maybe if you're living down south, I know there's a very fun website called Saturdays Down South, and so many more. And I think, Darren, for us, when we sort of came up, when we worked on this idea of the Catskeller Social Club, is that it was all fan driven. It was, independent podcasters or content creators in the Bearcats circle. And we wanted to sort of unite those to, branch out and give all of us a stronger voice. And that's really the same idea that the College Huddle had, except now we are connected with like-minded podcasts and content creators, literally almost from coast to coast. So very excited, and we'll have more on that this week as the website rolls out and all the social medias as well.
From sea to shining sea, a football nation, if you will.
Yeah. We are almost literally got one for one straight line through the map, but literally we're at least coast to coast. With different podcasts and schools represented, some really creative guys that are in on this, kind of spearheading it. Some great podcast names that I've learned about recently. Just representing their school in the best way possible. So I'm excited to get to know some of these guys. For our listeners, you will probably see myself and Darren or some other guys. There will be like a Big 12 huddle podcast, so you will see us on there as making some guest appearances, talking about Cincinnati and the Big 12, not only for football but for everything. So I'm super excited about that as that gets launched here officially on Tuesday the 9th. So if you listened all the way through here on Monday when we recorded this and it gets posted, you will be literally the first to know about the College Huddle and everything that it has going on for it. So super excited. Definitely look out for more of that. And finally, the very, very last thing, we have way more listeners than subscribers on YouTube. So like and subscribe on YouTube.
Please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you. Darren, that's all I have, sir. You have anything else?
No. Cheers. Go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats. Go Bearcats, and I'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday.
See you.